Welcome, everyone, to Deep Drinks Podcast, the deepest podcast on the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce today's distinguished guest, Jimmy Snow. Jimmy fucking Snow, as people like to say. Known best for his wildly popular call-in show, The Line, Jimmy and another host navigate the complex waters of religion, atheism, human rights, and a plethora of other controversial topics. Coming from a deeply religious background, his personal journey from the LDS faith to atheism has created a unique lens through which he approaches these discussions. His show is a platform that fosters an open dialogue, promoting understanding and challenging perspectives. So without further ado, let me endear our guest in the best way that I know how.
This was supposed to be saved for when I met you in person, but Jimmy, go fuck yourself.
With all the love in the world from Venus, go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy. Yeah, you. Go fuck yourself, eh?
Hey, Jimmy. I know we don't know each other yet, but here's my introduction. Go fuck yourself. I'm Derek.
Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy. It's me. You have no idea who I am, but I still think that you should go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Jimmy, go fuck yourself.
Jimmy, sweetheart, darling, go fuck yourself.
Welcome.
That's the greatest intro I've ever gotten. I definitely need a copy of that, please.
Yeah,
that
I definitely will send it.
That was phenomenal. Here, I was going to focus on you calling me a distinguished guest and just say like distinguished from quality content is what I am. But wow, no, that was incredible. That was great. That was great. Yeah.
So I put in the distinguished there this morning because I wrote a bit of the introduction yesterday, and I was like, I always like to do something special, and I was like, and I reached out to a few of your friends, reached out to Ben, and I was like, give us an inside joke, something I can work with. And he's like, well, you definitely have to tell him to go fuck himself. And I was like, oh, is there like some drama going on or whatever? And he's like, no, it's a thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I just thought of the idea. I was like, Ben, should I just get a bunch of people to tell Jimmy to go fuck himself? And then he's like, absolutely. And then we started putting the feelers out like yesterday afternoon. I was at work in the conference room, like making videos to people like, come on, send a video of you saying go fuck yourself. So you're welcome.
Yeah, I know, for real. That was awesome. You know what's funny? So the reason why it exists is we did an episode a while back where there was just a lot of very wholesome super chats coming in, and so I was having to read compliments to myself, and compliments are already so like unbearably uncomfortable to me. And so I got to this point where I was like, everybody, I'd way rather you tell me go fuck like I would feel more love reading go fuck yourself a bunch than having to keep reading like Jimmy, this is blah, blah, blah. Like that stuff just makes me, and so it became a running joke, and now it even happens on like, I'm sure without even watching last night's episode, I'm sure that there were super chats on Matt's show on the line that ended that way with the go fuck yourself. But I got to tell you, I like compliments are uncomfortable for me. And that intro is so sweet and such a kind thing that I'm beginning to hate it. It's almost like, worked its way around. I'm like, oh,
it's gone the whole way. It's gone the whole way around. Like it's gone from 12 all the way back to 12. That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that I could provide that for you because it's just it's what we do here.
Yeah,
I try to make the guests uncomfortable sometimes. That's what it's always fun. So I've had so many requests to have you on the channel. And when I was doing my research, I watched The Line for years, and but getting to know you as a person, you're incredibly interesting. And you've described your journey away from the Mormon faith by stating, and I quote, "My dick works and I'm autistic." Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I don't know what the context was of when I said it, so let me think of what I probably meant. The reasons why I left Mormonism is because my dick works and I'm autistic. So I assume that has to do with one, that my somewhat hypersexual nature is and starting at a very young age. It's funny and somewhat surreal. I kind of set my appearances. My collab days usually are Thursdays, and today there was 2. But so earlier I was on a podcast that doesn't release today. And so I'm like, am I about to tell the same story? I don't want to make it boring. But so I'll give the short version and then give other details that aren't boring. But I'm very hypersexual from like a very young, like 10 or 11 years old is when it turned on, and like a light switch, I was just horny all the time. And that is entirely incompatible with Mormonism, especially as a young boy, because in Mormonism, you aren't allowed to even masturbate. Masturbation's a sin. And so it was the incompatibility with my sexual identity. To tell you the truth, the queer part wasn't even a problem that I recognized, or like it wasn't a pressing problem, because women are fucking great. They're gorgeous, and like I was fine just living in the women only part of my sexuality. I didn't feel like I was missing out on I had crushes on guys where it was like I didn't realize I was sad that I was never going to get to take them anywhere, but I wasn't internalizing much. It was really just the hypersexuality that was incompatible with my identity. And then the autism, anybody who has autism or has read about it is aware of, like, when we say we love rules, we don't mean we love being controlled. Quite the opposite. We like the predictability of this input equals that output, and for there to be consistency, because most things which are true have that consistency. And so at some point, this sort of like asking questions and getting answers of like, you don't need to know the answer, or something that's just so incompatible with anything that's logical or reasonable. It wouldn't surprise me, and I know that there are people who are religious who almost degrade us when they say it, but it wouldn't surprise me if autistic people are more likely to leave religious belief, or maybe leave earlier than other people, because the inconsistency and the incongruence and the non urgency to actually find out if something is true or not. Concepts like, it doesn't matter if it's true, you should just believe. My dad literally told me this: whether you believe it's true or not, act as though you do, and then you'll believe again one day, and you'd be better off doing that. Which is fucking, like, what a stupid thing to say. And so I think that must have been the context of what I meant whenever I said that, which is it was incompatible with my identity as a very sexual human, and it was incompatible with the way in which I build truth in my head, like the way in which I put truth together or contain it. You couldn't hold on to claims of Mormonism the same way you can hold on to claims of science, even though Mormonism makes scientific claims that are obviously bogus. So I got to think that's probably what I meant in that specific situation. But I also might have just been horny when somebody brought it up. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I can totally relate to that. Before we go any further, as always, I've forgotten to ask you what we're drinking today. I'm actually a fantastic host. I'm one of the best in the world. I was late for the for the pre-screening. I've forgotten to it. So what are we drinking today, Jimmy?
Best intro I've ever had. So to me, you are one of the best hosts in the world. I'm drinking 1877 mineral water, which is a local brand that's only sold by a chain here called H-E-B in Texas. And it has zero, it's just water and bubbles, but it doesn't have, I remember growing up trying seltzer a couple of times and being like, I will never like this. This tastes like ass. I have not had that experience now as an adult, as more people have gotten into mineral waters and stuff. It doesn't have that seltzer taste. I don't even know what seltzer is, if that's different than mineral water, but I don't know. Anyway,
I remember being violently opposed to soda water. I remember first tasting soda water when I was a kid and being like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Like, who could ever like this? And now I just love it. Like, I won't drink normal water. Like, it's boring. I need bubbles.
It's pretty much all I drink. It's this, and then like I'll usually have a cup of coffee about an hour after I wake up right now, and I have to go through phases with it because I'm like hypersensitive to caffeine, and so at some point I drink it until I hit a day where I don't sleep for 2 or 3 days in a row, and then I cut it out.
Yeah. This Dee actually asked a really great question. So, what scientific claims are in Mormonism? So, and this is kind of a good question to kind of start off, because I wanted to kind of get maybe you could tie it in with a bit of your journey. Like, how did you go from what kind of Mormon were you? What did the Mormon Church believe, and how did you kind of get out of it? Is kind of the bulk of what I want to ask you today.
Yeah. Hey, can I make a request that's a little bit douchey? Because I'm asking if I can run your channel a little bit. Do you have any mods in the chat?
Yes.
You don't have to ban him, but will you delete everything Otangelo says today?
Oh, fucking.
I'm
yeah,
saying
no, I know. Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, he's
cool. I hate him.
Yeah.
He does,
transphobic douchebag.
And I'm not. Yeah, exactly. Well, and doxed, dead named, and shared pictures of one of the hosts of the line pre-transition. So while I'm not going to tell you must ban them, but can you have one of your mods just delete everything and don't?
No.
Yeah,
I've mute him or whatever. Like, cause he brings nothing but oh, and he's so dishonest too. So well, this could be a whole hour of just hate on Tangelo, because
I just want him to know I chose to notice him and did this. I want him to feel that I personally will go out of my way to harm his presence on YouTube. Like, I want him to look into my eyes and see I hate him for what a fucking bigoted, not just the bigotry. The bigotry is one thing. Do you know what I hate the most about Otangelo? Is how boring he is. Like, yeah. And I know that's fucked up to say, like, the bigotry is one thing, but bigotry is not boring. At least it's what my whole career runs on. Of course, if I could snap my fingers and get rid of all the bigotry, I would. He's such a bore. His content is boring. His scripts that he's reading are boring. Just put them into Google. They're not difficult to engage with. You are a difficult human to engage with, but not because you're good at it, because you're so fucking boring.
I just find I think I can see where you're coming from. I haven't had too much engagement with him, except for that everything I've seen him produce is wildly dishonest. Kent Hovind levels of dishonest.
I've never watched the whole thing, but I've seen where he's like, I successfully talked to them for 90 seconds. Here's my 9-hour stream in response.
Yeah. So he's super annoying. So 100% totally down with that. But
anyway, sorry for interrupting your flow.
That's okay. So what is oh my gosh, we got super chat as well. Let me just read the super chat. Nitty, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. David and Jimmy need to drink to having to burn down Shroud Jello.
Shroud Jello. That's a weird nickname for him. Changelo. Like, I'm trying to work it out. But I mean, granted, I love play on words and puns. I spent today trying to figure out the name, which I think I came up with it for our new town hall. Actually, I think I came up with some good ones, and then I sent it to Dillahunty, and Dillahunty came back with one that was based on the ones I sent, but better. But I think we've come up with the name of our new town hall debate show, which I think will launch later this month. It's going to be called Duologue. I have to get down pronouncing it right, because it's based on the word dialogue, two people speaking, but it's a debate. Duologue. I need the 2 syllables of dual, because it's easy to go duologue. Too easy.
Okay.
Anyway, there you go. You're the first person. This is the first place that's public knowledge. New show, Duologue. The line.
Well, yeah. So let's do some promotion. So everyone here would know about the line. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing? First of all, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of what besides that, what else you got going on over in the line?
The line. So the line is my channel that I sort of. So years ago, my main passion was my personal channel was Jimmy Snow, but I didn't. This is gonna sound so douchey. I didn't like doing collabs on Jimmy Snow, or on, back then it might have been called Mr. Atheist or Dear Mr. Atheist. I kind of wanted to just contain it to this thing. And then I liked this other organization's show that was a call-in show, but I hated that I couldn't be on it because I wasn't in Austin. And I thought it was such like a miss to not open it up to more people and have people from other than Austin. And so I reached out to that organization and was basically like, hey, I want to be able to start doing more collabs, but I want to do it specifically, basically what y'all are doing, with just some minor tweaks to it. And they were super gracious at that time. And they were like, yeah, here's everything. They basically gave me how all of their tech works, everything. I ended up going a different direction. They are based on a program called, it's not StreamYard. It's I can't remember what it's called, but I use vMix. And so I went a slightly different direction, but they were still super helpful and super endorsed it. And so basically launched this thing called The Line, which at first was the name of the show, what is now the Sunday show. And basically every Sunday, we would do a call-in show that was very, very similar in format to that other program. Since then, when COVID hit, they basically needed to switch to my model. And because they were so gracious, I was gracious in return, was like, here's how I do it. Here's everything. So that they could have remote people, and they've now opened that up to more remote stuff. But now we're at a point where we've moved beyond just that. We currently do 5 shows a week, minimum. On Sundays, we have the Sunday show, still that religious themed one. On Mondays, we have a show called Skep Talk, pretty similar to the Sunday show, except for that we make sure that it's hosted by someone with some level of expertise. So you have science communicators like John Gleason, like Forrest Valkai. You've got the psychology person in Shannon Q, Aaron Ra, who has a biology background, but also is an incredible debater. And then on Tuesdays, we are actually ending hostility. It'll become a floating show. Starting this Tuesday, we'll be Dying Out Loud with Dave Warnock, who is an individual who's terminally ill. It's the saddest of our shows because it's the one that unfortunately is only going to last for a couple of years because Dave will pass away at some point. But in the meantime, we're going to get to benefit from his wisdom as an ex-pastor, a non-believer who is facing his own mortality, as well as have these conversations about life and purpose and all of that. Then on Wednesdays, we have the Hang Up with Matt Dillahunty. He gets to be a lot more political than he is on other shows, gets to talk about whatever's on his mind, as well as feature guests that he likes to have on with him. And then on Thursdays, and I know that no one is offended when I say this, because we've talked about it. On Thursdays, we do what I think is the best show on the line, and it's called the Transatlantic Call-In Show. And it is hosted by trans people, and they will take calls from allies, and they will take calls from adversaries and opponents. There was an episode earlier today. Arden student, or no longer student, Dr. Ben and Katie Montgomery are the 3 rotating hosts, and then sometimes they bring a guest or they come on, they go together. And that is what I think is just the best thing we do at the moment. But we're going to be expanding a lot, new debate shows, new channels launching. And then come September, I will be relaunching my old project as a part of the line programming called The Sometime Show, where we'll be talking a lot about news and current events for the first hour, and then doing a call-in portion for the second hour. So you asked for what the line is. It wasn't a short answer. I'm sorry if
that's absolutely what I want. Like, it's just incredible. And I would have to agree, the Transatlantic call-in show is just my favorite of the bunch. It's really good. It's just such a great way to engage with it, because you have like essentially 2 sides that are screaming right at each other, and then your show just like cuts right through the middle as like the Transatlantic call-in show is just like this river of just like good conversations, I guess you could say.
Thank you. I also just think it's crazy to me, and I bet you it's going to change soon because of our spread the word techniques that we're about to employ. But it's crazy to me that, did you know it's also our least watched show?
Wow.
If you go and you look, I don't know if you still have that window you just had up. If you go and you look at so if you look at last week, you see like 20,000 views with Paul and Shannon there. They rarely break 10,000 views. And this is the hottest topic in the world right now. it's the topic that the right in both the UK and in America are trying to. They always pick somebody to make you afraid of. And until these last couple elections, it was always brown people are coming to take your jobs, or the caravans. The caravans are coming. We always heard about the caravans, and now it's trans issues, and it is their favorite boogie person to date because they can package everything into it. Everything they use as a fear mongering thing.
Isn't it funny how, like, in the 70s, like, I know like boomers who used to drive around parts of Australia and find people that look gay and then bash them. Like, it was like there was a lot of homophobia. Now most people I know are okay with gays, like homosexuals and lesbians and stuff, but the transgender folk, they're the new boogeyman. They're the new ostracized group
boogie person. Let's
boogies. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Hey, I'm still learning. Like, I grew up I'm in the Texas of
for a while.
I'm in the Texas of Australia. So D is screaming in the chat. Scientific Mormon claims. So thank you for the super chat, D. I started your comment before. We were going to get back to it, but I do appreciate the $2 super chat. And thank you again also to River City Films, who sent a $2 super chat. All the $2 will go towards I'm getting a new camera, and I'm going to start making some deep drinks documentaries very shortly. So some scientific Mormon claims.
Do you say you're getting a new camera? This looks quite nice.
This is Works camera.
I see. What brand? What is it?
It's a Sony A7 III with a Sigma 35mm, but I'm getting a Sony A7 IV with a 24 to 70 G Master 2.8.
Those are very good. So I was a photographer before I was a YouTuber, and if I can give you a piece of advice you didn't ask for. Those are great. Get one, and don't make it your computer. Don't make it your streaming camera. Use that to film B-roll and stuff. I think Elgato has made these cameras that are webcam style that are amazing. And I've been switching everybody on our crew to them because they're simple. They're easy. You don't have to worry about timeouts and all that stuff. Anyway, do whatever you want to do. But I'll tell you, and even if you want to splurge a little, the new Facecam Pro that you have to wait until you get the email that there's more in stock, they basically tore out everything and said, what's the maximum stuff we can get as far as lens quality and stuff for around $150, but we don't put anything else in it. There's no microphone in it. It's just sensor and lens. And they actually were able to do some like pretty fucking amazing stuff. And then the software tools they have that go with it, the AI tools and stuff, all super good.
I have thought about that because I saw you sent Stacy some gear for her show, which is just, I mean, first of all, what a fucking legend. Jimmy, let's everyone compliment Jimmy in the chat. Everyone give him some compliments.
You want me to steal all of that goodwill right now? I'll tell you why I wanted to invest in Stacy's channel. It's because you want to invest
in Stacy's channel, right? Like, do you want to be like a producer or?
Oh, no. The reason is the ideas Stacy has for a podcast is the first new idea in the atheist sphere in forever. Like it's new, and I'm not saying non-new ideas aren't good too, but it's sort of like you have this sphere of people where it's like they're all competing for roughly the same few things. They want to be counter apologetics, or they want to be live debaters, or whatever. There's no such thing as a mother-daughter deconstruction podcast. So the reason why I wanted to invest in them, but I don't necessarily invest, I actually, there's quite a few people who, but I'm not out there bragging about it. I'm loud about wanting to invest in Stacy stuff because I want that to take off. A mother-daughter deconstruction podcast.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why has this not happened yet? That's so fucking good as an idea. And her name is Stacy, and it's with her mom. So it's the Stacy's Mom podcast. Every element of this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And Apostasy is in the chat. Go subscribe to her channel. 100%, because it's gonna be wild. And D is her. I think her mom's name is D. Is that right?
Yep.
Or maybe yeah. And she gives off vibes of like, I don't know if this is accurate. Maybe you can tell me. she's probably more of a wild card than you are, Stacey. And like you go to your mom and she's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, fucking, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's
she's like chaotic good in D&D terms.
Yeah.
Stacey's more lawful good.
Tell you what, we need to. Do you play D&D?
Mhm.
There needs to be some sort of a D&D, like Skeptics D&D like show, I think. Like Critical Role, but what?
This idea has been floated once a month by somebody the entire time I've been a YouTuber. Everybody agrees we should do it. It's just who's going to take on that project. It's a lot. And don't get me wrong, I probably will one day if no one else has done it and we finally get to the point that I have a production center where I can build a set and it can be some kind of like actually crazy well-produced thing. I'd for sure do it. But the question is someone going to do it before then? And who's going to take that on? Because it's hard enough to get two atheists in a room together and match everybody's availability. 8?
Man, I do. I play a D&D campaign with 10 people, including the DM. So 9 players. We use StreamYards. We just record it, and we use StreamYards for it. It's actually based because you can then use D&D Beyond. And anyway, this is only entertaining for us.
So next, I was going to ask you which AI tools you make to show off your like create monsters and stuff. But
I was actually going to should I do it? Yeah, hang on a sec. I'm gonna do it. Watch out, guys.
I'm black and white.
Yep. Just wait. Just wait. You know what? I think I've ruined it. But I was going to show you my D&D character with snap camera. I got like a beard. I'm a dwarf.
That's awesome.
He's a dwarf who took a gap year from mining and caught up with some pirates and went raping and pillaging for like a year, and he really enjoyed that. And now he's debating whether or not he wants to go back to mining or he wants to continue the lifestyle of raping and pillaging. Less raping, just more pillaging. And so that's his character, and he's always drunk. So and I have to method act, so because I'm a perfectionist. So every Wednesday night is a couple of whiskeys for me.
Chaotic evil or unlawfully? What's the alignment there?
I think he's the raping and pillaging part. It's more just he wants to have fun. So it's just in the I could also say that word because I'm going to get demonetized. But so somewhere. But he's probably I think he's neutral. He's chaotic neutral.
Okay. Well, then I hope he puts the raping part behind him because that's not exactly.
Well, hang on.
I can defend pillaging. I'm a socialist, especially if he's pillaging like corporations. But
the rape only comes in for bad people. He rapes the rapists. Maybe that's his thing. I haven't gone too much into his backstory. It's just that he joined the pirates who were raping and pillaging, and he enjoyed that.
He's a Dexter rapist. What an idea.
You're making me justify things I never thought I'd have to justify outside of the
well, you brought in the details of your campaign, and now I've got to. Yeah, look, boy, that's an interesting premise. A dwarf Dexter.
Actually, River City Films, who just super chatted, is actually one of the members of the crew. Between Deep Drinks and D&D Face is just as drunk.
Yeah. There's no drunkenness here tonight. I'm afraid. I'm a sober human being. I'm unfortunately extremely straight edge. I like to say I'm so straight edge. I don't even wear condoms.
That's amazing. Okay, back to Dee's question because she's going to blow up. And Dee's one of my favorites. She's always super chatting and always supportive, and she's always here. She's so cool. So scientific Mormon claims. So you mentioned that before. Can we touch a little bit on that?
Yeah. So we could make the full list of. Well, no, we can't here tonight. The list. It depends on what you want. Do you want the list of things that they still currently stand behind, or do you want the list of things that are like passed from the prophets and stuff? And both are really interesting because Mormonism technically isn't even really compatible with things they now say they're fine with. Like they pretend to be pro-evolution, pretend to be pro, and individually you're gonna have the members go like, I took a biology course. Evolution's obvious now. The Earth isn't 10,000 years old. That's obvious now. However, their temple ceremony is not compatible with that. And these things which from the religious end are claimed to be fact, now they're having to do all these apologetics of like, well, maybe these periods of time where they're referring to a day, those could be hundreds of thousands of years. But even if you add up those hundreds of thousands of years, you're talking about like a 2 million year old universe. So that's not that impressive either. But I mean, the unscientific claims start all the way back with Joseph Smith, who is claiming to be writing the Book of Mormon, which is supposed to be the story, the history of the indigenous people of America, who, according to his book, are descendants of 600 BC Jews. That's an unscientific claim, which we now know because we can DNA test and show you that indigenous people, they're not Jews. They just aren't. And then there's a ton of our modern understanding of anthropology, which Mormons will just sit and go like, yeah, but it's all just hiding. Like, just wait. They're going to find it. That small area where millions of people died in a war with steel swords before steel had been learned to be refined in the greater world. That's, I'm sure that's just hard to find. Sure. In Egypt, we can find campsites from people who were there 10,000 years ago, or whatever it is. 10,000 is probably an exaggeration, but let's say 5,000 years ago. We can find campsites of 3 or 4 people that we knew were somewhere in the area, but we can't find these millions of dead people. Joseph Smith also made outrageous claims like that there are Quakers living on the moon, only to be topped by Brigham Young, who then later came and said, not just the moon, they're living on the sun.
Wait, no. Did he... Is that? Yeah. Are you taking that out of context? Is that a literal? Like, are you saying it in like a?
What context do you think telling people there are Quakers on the moon?
Is it like symbolic? Is it like they're? No. Is it like they're out there, or are you saying like they got a house? They're cooking steaks. Like what? Like what do you like? What? Like what do you? What does that mean? What do they mean by that context? Living on the moon? Do they actually think like they could? I'm so confused. Please explain.
So let me see if I can find the actual quote.
And as you do that, Skeptic and Schedule said, $10 super chat, have some money, nerds. Thank you. Thank you so much.
There's basically it was a conversation. So in talking about this, Mormonism is also like the first pro-alien religion, maybe not the first, but it's a pro-alien religion because they believe there are people on lots of planets throughout the universe, and they're all learning about our planet where Jesus Christ was crucified, and they're covered under the same thing. And so basically, let's see, it was a story recap by Oliver Huntington. And you're gonna have, when you look it up, you're gonna find a lot of Mormon websites trying to say like, yeah, but like, how do we even know that guy was telling the truth? This person who was like close to Joseph heard it. And then again, it's picked up later by Brigham Young. He was like, yeah, the moon, because Joseph said that, but also let's not forget the sun. He described the men as averaging nearly 6 feet in height, dressing uniformly and somewhat near Quaker style, that they live generally to be 1,000 years old, inhabited by men and women the same as this earth, and they live to greater age than we do, generally 1,000 years old.
Damn.
Yeah. What's funny is when you go to Fair Mormon, now it's Fair Latter-day Saints, one of their defenses is that, well, lots of people believe the moon was inhabited back then, and that it was considered a scientific fact by many, which is one of those stupid things like when people say like,
everyone did slavery.
The flat or the most obvious parallel, I think, is flat Earth. It used to be a scientific fact that the Earth was flat, which is not true.
It wasn't.
Yeah. And to say that someone believed it was a scientific fact does not make it a scientific fact.
Yeah.
You idiots. Other claims. So black skin is the result of a curse on both Africans and indigenous people. They're completely thrown off of the concept of varying melatonin relative to your proximity to the equator. That escapes them. It's cursed. So
it's demons or something.
In the case of black people, it's because of the curse that was put on Cain, which they are all trying to back off of now, but they're unable to back off of it completely. They just want to now back off of why Black people weren't allowed to have the priesthood. And then the Book of Mormon.
That's what I was going to ask about.
Dark skin on indigenous people, and that's still a part of the story.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So because I've seen the Book of Mormon, and I've interviewed Dan, who is a Mormon, and ex-Mormons as well.
Dan, who is a Mormon?
Dan McClellan, Dr. Dan McClellan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay,
like super fan. But I am personally, but his we didn't talk a huge amount about any of this stuff. I'd be interested to get his take on all of this actually, because he'll probably have some interesting perspectives.
He'd be probably a good person to have on Dual. I already forgot the name of Duologue. Forgot the name of my episode. It's a new one.
100%. But the so was there a time, like, because in the Book of Mormon musical, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, it was like something about like Black people weren't allowed to be Mormons, and then God changed his mind about God changed his mind about Black people is the like line.
It was mostly full participation, so extensions of certain temple ceremonies and the ability to participate in the priesthood and stuff. I think they could always be baptized and some type of member. The temple ceremony histories include sealing. So in Mormonism, sealing is usually where you're sealing your family to you, that your family is going to be yours for eternity, not just for the earth life. So you get married, you get sealed to your wife as your wife for eternity, or wives, depending on who you are. And then you get sealed. Your children are sealed as your children for eternity and all that stuff. However, prior to the lift of the ban, the most famous record of a Black person being sealed was a person being sealed, a Black woman being sealed to Joseph Smith as his servant for eternity. That Black person would be Joseph Smith's eternal servant. So, dope religion. Also, the flood, Noah's flood, is a literal thing in Mormonism. There's no way for them to back off of that again because of the temple ceremony. A worldwide Noah's flood. Adam and Eve they have to literally exist, not just be metaphor like in Catholicism, because of the temple ceremony. In fact, Mormon's history with Adam is now it's just meant to be that Adam was basically, so Adam is also not Gabriel, the angel Michael. They're the same person. Michael and Adam are the same person. But in the past, in parts of Mormon doctrine, Adam was actually God, and God came down and did the Adam thing. That there's a very funny T-shirt by Zelf.
I don't know, Jimmy. Seems a bit far-fetched to me.
Yeah, I know. It sounds crazy. Yeah, Zelf on the Shelf has some funny merch. That's some "Make Adam God Again" merch. That's their MAGA merch. They've been very anti-evolution until recently. In fact, you can find quotes from general authorities and prophets of the church saying basically it's impossible for evolution to be true and for Mormonism to be true at the same time. Therefore, evolution isn't true. They have since tried to back off of that. And now their apologetics are like, actually, evolution makes the church more true. You remember that goalpost, that line in the sand? Let me just tell you how far we've moved the goalpost. Now it's not if evolution is true, the church isn't true. Now it's if evolution is true, the church is more obviously true. Just fucking, I don't know, like somebody was doing ether.
So someone D mentioned, just it's not to, I'm just reading out all D's comments. She's just pumping some bangers out, guys. But no, the wrong one. In Islam, blacks become white in heaven. I didn't know that. And I'd like to fact check that because that sounds wildly problematic.
This is something religion. Mormonism also is, that's true to Mormon doctrine, but again, if you talk to a Mormon, they're probably going to try to back off of that.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have the curse, not just after you die and become a ghost, but also when you eventually are resurrected. Also, so is that a wider Christian belief that eventually you die and then everyone is resurrected like Jesus was with a new body?
Like it depends which sects of Christianity. In Pentecostal Christianity, I was a Pentecostal youth pastor, so that type of Christianity, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
I think
I know that
Mormon, the concept is like you die, you become a ghost, then as soon as everybody dies and or everybody has been born, that's when the millennium will begin. Which will be like everyone will be resurrected. You'll have a perfect body. We'll do 1,000 years of some type of work. I don't know what it's supposed to be. And then at the end of the millennium, that's when you'll have had your chance to conquer temptation and become perfect, because Satan will be locked away. Then Satan is going to be released. He'll be able to tempt people again. Anybody who falls for temptation and sins again will lose their status of perfection and lose their chance at exaltation, where they become a god for eternity like our God. But yeah, there's a physical human body. I mean, in Mormonism, God has a physical fleshy dick. I don't know how big it is, and no Mormon will answer questions about the size of God's penis, which I feel like is a pressing issue that we need to answer.
Well, no, I think you're incorrect there, Jimmy. When I had Dan on, we explicitly went over the size of. It was last week's episode. We had explicitly went over the size of God's dick. Like, it fills the room. In Isaiah, we pulled up the scriptures. He showed us scriptures that explicitly talk about the size of God's physical dick.
His physical penis. Yeah, I don't know. Who was that with?
Dan McClellan.
Dan is willing to talk about the physical size of God's penis?
Dude, he, like I said, he's the man. He's the absolute man.
Wait, so what is Dan's association with the church now? He's still in, I thought.
Yeah. He just I think he's just stopped. He was the head scripture. I mean, he didn't say God's dick. He used like professional, like he said, like some people would reference it as a member and blah blah blah. Like he talked more betterer than I am now. He spoke in a very politically correct and in a way
precise. Like I know there's some indication that the story of Moroni visiting Joseph Smith was with his dick out, but I don't recall.
So do you know Dr. Professor Francesca Stavrakopoulos in her book God and Anatomy? She got she had like David Falk come after her and say, you shouldn't measure scholarship by cup size, and then everyone it canceled him and he lost his job. It's so funny. I got blocked by him because I asked what his cup size was and he blocked me. But it was so she wrote a book, probably one of my favorite books, God and Anatomy, and she talks about this, how the Hebrew Bible and the Hebrew God had a physical body, and talks about his feet, his arms, his legs, and everything. And it goes and she was his dissertation supervisor when he was at the University of Exeter, and so it goes right into the scholarship. It's super interesting. But essentially, there's a scripture in Isaiah that talks about the chains of Yahweh's garment. But that translation, the chains of his garment, is it's like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's like it's filled the room, and it's and Francesca and Dan make the case that it's possible, and even more likely that they're talking. It's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge at the size of that God had a huge member. In other words,
and a physical member, or like a spiritual present member, like a ghost of penis past, or what are we talking about?
Like a physical, like God was a physical. As a physical, it's hard because I don't think God was in the temple physically swinging his member around. This is what's interesting about deep drinks. I sometimes have conversations like this over water, and then other times I have Christian apologists on who we drink straight scotch and we talk about the problem of evil, and then I have scholars on to talk about stuff that I still struggle to follow after rewatching the episode. So it's a wild ride here. Subscribe and like the stream if you want to see this.
Gold's got a willy, everybody.
That's what actually you did mention Aaron Ra a second ago, and about Noah's Ark. Aaron Ra was pivotal in my deconstruction experience. I didn't like the creation evolution thing was important, but the nail in the coffin for me, the thing that made me just totally go, okay, this is obviously fake, was watching Aaron Ra's series on how X destroys Noah's flood, and he's actually coming on tomorrow. And I just want everyone to appreciate the beautiful cover photo that I made. Proclaiming the gospel of Jesus to Aaron Ra, come back home. And I just love Aaron's face and my expression there. I just think that's good. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm going to try and gaslight Aaron into becoming a Christian again. So that's my goal. Yeah. I need everyone's help. Come along and we'll try and gaslight him into becoming a Christian. If it works, that'll be amazing, right? So Yeah, so I guess it does. Yeah, there are some Mormons, I guess, who do talk about the size of God's dick, but you have to go deep into the scholarship.
Very deep for God's dick.
So yeah, so how we've talked about the scientific inaccuracies. When did you first start questioning your faith and like getting interested in even like examining the evidence for all of this?
So the hard part is it's a complicated question because I find the I don't know. It's the questioning wasn't as important as the rebellion because I rebelled before I became a hypocrite first before I was actually questioning. So it was like I was having sex or doing sexual things and doing stuff I wasn't supposed to from a young age. That rebellion, eventually the having to live that and basically just be a liar for an identity, to say like, to tell other people don't have sex, don't masturbate, that's a sin, be pure, maintain your purity. And then I'm like headed off to my fucking girlfriend's car so we can do mouth stuff. It's like it was
love mouth stuff.
all right, I'm a big fan. The incompatibility with the life I wanted to live, and it, like that at a certain point does wear you down. And you go, okay, I have to see if I'm a hypocrite and know it, or if I am at the point that I want to acknowledge I'm wrong and repent, or figure out if I'm even wrong, like figure out this incompatibility. And so the rebellion preceded there are stories of times in my teenage years when I went, this specific thing that's happening around me seems nuts. But the actual questioning doesn't come until a period of time where I'm also going through identity crisis. I'm experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and I'm living the life that, it's easy for Mormons to point to and go, well, no wonder he left. He just wanted to sin. Though ironically, I now break a lot of those rules less than ever. Again, I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm not doing most drugs. I recently started relying on Delta 8 cannabis products to fall asleep, but that's literally all I use it for. Haven't had sex in like a year. Like, what the fuck? Like, whatever issues you all think I'm the leaving to sin is a weird thing because it's much easier to be sinful within religion, which encourages hypocrisy. It's easier to do whatever you want and then get forgiveness, not from the victims of your quote unquote sins, but from a guy who, I've decided the person you didn't manipulate or abuse or do whatever to, I've decided I can forgive you. Like that shit. It's way easier to be a sinner in religion than it is to be a shitty, unethical person out of it.
I think it you touched on something there that I noticed, because it's interesting how a lot of these pastors and stuff who preach this condemnation of homosexuality or masturbation or whatever, like who's that one, Ted Haggard, who's back in the day, 10 years ago or something. Is it Ted Haggard? He like debated Richard Dawkins, and he was like a big like
and he was getting power fisted by a prostitute.
Yeah, he was preaching all the time against homosexuality, and then he was spending his weekends or whatever just getting slammed with a prostitute and doing meth. Like, and you just like, I wonder why that is. And you can put it down to the easy answer is obviously like, oh, these people are just scumbags or whatever. I don't think that tells the whole story. I think what happens is, I think people, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but I think people, they go into the religion and they kind of led to these conclusions because of their holy texts or whatever, and they get more and more pragmatic, but it doesn't actually work. And it's like that old saying, like a hungry man dreams of eating a horse, and the rich man thinks of what dessert he'll eat. For me, I used to love pornography as a teenager, but I used to try so hard not to watch it, not to masturbate, not to look at someone with lust. And at the end of the week, when you've like, you're like not, you're not having any, haven't done anything sexual, you've averted your eyes from you've bounced your eyes from every single attractive person you've seen, you're like bursting at the seams, and then you spend 7 hours downloading pornography on dial-up internet. That's the reality. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
I don't know my struggle with LimeWire.
Oh baby, LimeWire, iMesh. But it's like, so it's I wonder if it's that same thing. It's like that starvation of whatever desire you have actually grows it to be bigger, to be and then you take it out on you take your sexual and angry frustrations out on the congregation, like in a way,
Yeah, no, I definitely think, I mean, I've made the observation before that, like, I almost wonder if I wish I could get rid of everything, like take away all of the bad things that Mormonism gave me. Because at the end of the day, the prohibition on titties is probably why I'm obsessed with them. And what I want to lose, my love and, it's just what I want that to be gone.
You just love them so much.
I enjoy my enjoyment of titties, and I don't know.
I was talking to one of my gay friends back when he was the only gay friend I had, and we're talking about titties, and he's like, I just don't know. He's like, I don't know how you can find them attractive. He's like, what do I do? Do I push them out of the way? Like, I'm like, no, dude. Like, you want to meal up in your face. You don't want to push them away. Like, and so
I don't know what he was talking. Look, here's the thing. Is there going to be somebody out there? Sure, and maybe he's the one. But most queer people, most gay men still love titties. It's just a fact. And there's this thing about everyone does. Straight women love titties. Like it's just a universally loved thing. The number of gay people who like gay men who like titties is higher than the number who don't. It's the outliers are the ones who don't. Doesn't mean that they would then do things with titties or that they would still have sex with a woman or anything. I'm just saying, let's not erase or unaffiliate a gayness with titty love, because you should be allowed to have both.
I think straight dudes like dick. But I think that as well. But I think that it's dick in a certain like I think, and this is me being this is me stepping way outside of the field of anything I know, and me trying to psychoanalyze the entire world. But I think that the male dick, I'll just say a dick, has become sexualized for those who watch a lot of pornography because they associate an erect penis with pleasure. I wonder if like there's a way that like I wonder if like something that's going is like, I reckon if you wired up as a straight person, they would never like let's say a super straight whatever, they would not say that they are they're attracted to dicks or anything like that. But I reckon you could find some form of sexual arousal if you wired up their brain and just showed them erect penises after erect penises. Even, you know what, I wouldn't even say erect penis, I would say like Miami mansions. I reckon there's some association because that's just all you see in like porn these days. Someone who watches a lot of porn is probably building these associations. Again, this is totally outside of my realm of expertise, but I wonder if it's the same thing with titties. I wonder if it's like titties are like glorified in society, so it's like they become attractive. I don't know.
No, not anymore. Right now, it's been the last decade's been the decade of ass, and it hasn't rounded back around to we titty people. We titty preferers are titties over ass are a dying breed, I guess. But no, I don't know. There's actually lots of really fascinating stuff that when it comes to porn and sexuality and the difference between because it's like on the one hand, yes, I think you're right that it's almost you almost depersonalize. You almost just go, that's a dick. It's a huge porn dick. And so this is a tool of the pornography, and that the dick attached to it isn't the thing that like gets you, because if a second penis then enters and all they do is rub those two sex tools against each other, those same straight men suddenly aren't enjoying that dick.
Yeah.
Relation then brought to a woman they want to see fucked. There is some interesting stuff they've done in the past too, where like it was surprising how much when straight men watched sex, that they would actually focus more on like the woman's face and expression. They become more excited by her expressions of enjoying herself, and that they basically ignore many men. I'm sure that there's outliers and stuff, but they basically ignore the experience of the man himself. In fact, it's very common to not like to hear a man moan in porn, like if they're doing their end shot and they're doing the
clip it.
I'm queer and I don't like that. Like I'm like, ugh.
Oh, really? You see, I think my tastes have developed over the years. I would consider myself straight. But I don't know. This is something I wanted to talk to you about. Actually, is like labels and sexuality. Actually, labels and everything. I saw you talking to someone on Stacey's episode. I watched that pretty much the whole way through. Where they called up and they're like, I don't know if I'm an atheist. I don't know if, and it was like, and they were really conflicted with the label. Like they weren't sure if they wanted to know the definition of what an atheist was, because they wanted to know if they fit that category. And it seemed like quite distressing for them. And I see the same thing with like, I'm straight, I'm bi, I'm, pansexual, I'm gay or whatever. It's like, I'm straight, I would say, but it's kind of like putting myself in that box, in that box of like, I'm straight.
In that
it kind of limit, like, what if a sexy dude comes up and I'm like, I'm attracted to this person? Like, do I like what's the purpose of putting myself in that box when you could kind of just be?
I think it's kind of like, if a word you feel like describes you right now, you just go with it. The problem with the label is when you treat it like prescriptive. So if you want to go with straight right now, it doesn't bother me. But if a gay guy approaches you and you're like, actually, I do want to make out with him and he's down, then do it. Don't worry about, wait, but I'm straight, I can't do it. No, why the fuck can't you? And by the way, it's something that's commonly understood. There's lots and lots and lots of straight women understand. Well, I hope that your wife will let you bang a guy if you want to. But
I don't want to bang it, but yeah, I appreciate it.
It's all good. Lots and lots of straight women already know the experience because it's not as stigmatized in society of, yes, I'm straight, but I put that to the test a little bit and still had a good time. And yet at the end of the day, I'm still straight. Like the trope almost of you're straight except in college. Nobody questions that or is bothered by it because it's what you feel like you are. It's whatever, you feel like. And so, yeah, I know there, and I'm sure it blows a lot of people's mind when you meet a woman, you're like, have you ever fucked another woman? Yes. Did you enjoy it? Tons. So you're bi? No, I'm straight. Cause
I know
who you are.
I heard a podcast once where the person was claiming to be straight, but exclusively watched lesbian porn. And
I know, I was friends of women like that. That's not uncommon.
And it's like, but is that straight? It's these labels are only there, in my opinion, to serve like utility. They're just like descriptions, I guess, of like how we try and organize society. And that's why, like, I don't understand when we talk about the transgender identity. That's why I really don't understand people's like issue with like trying to get down to like molecular biology, like scientific facts on like they want everyone to walk around with their like genome printed out and be like, let me check your genome before we have a conversation because I don't know to address you as a he or a him or a she or a her. Like to me it's just I don't understand that because I just see words as like a tool for like communication and how to engage. Anyway,
I mean, look, if you decide to suck a dick and then tell me you're straight, I'll still call you straight. If there's a dick you find yummy, but it's in isolation, I'm not worried about it. I don't want to suck a dick, Jimmy, but you can call me gay if you like. I make this joke all the time. We have a newborn Atlas, nearly 4 months old. And I always make the joke that if he grew up to be straight, I'd love him anyway. Like I would totally be there. I wouldn't send him to straight conversion therapy. I wouldn't, try and pray the straight away. I would accept him. I'm sort of one of those people who while I don't go with the full, like everybody's bisexual thing that some people do, there's something in that though that isn't wrong. And I think that once there's a full destigmatization, once it's completely destigmatized, I think that you're going to find that just fucking whoever you want to fuck and not worrying about the label is going to become more the default. And then there will be some, I honestly think orientation will be treated more like preferences in the future. It's going to be like, whatever, I don't care. It doesn't, because right now you have the opposite that people do understand, that it doesn't make a gay person viscerally uncomfortable to watch a straight couple make out, right? It's nothing. It's just like, this is just a thing. This is just a thing that happens all the time. And yet so many straight people have a visceral negative reaction to gay people making out. That's
not so much girls. Yeah, but not so much girls, but guys.
Right. Unless it's gay. I get what you're saying. But like two gay men, there's this visceral reaction to. That's a learned behavior. I think that goes away in the future, and you just have this sort of default of like, Nah, if somehow it was, I don't think I want to do it, or I don't think I want this specific set of genitalia as far as preferences go. I think orientation will in the long run be more like preference, whereas today orientation is focused a whole lot more on people's restraints because of something that is holding them back. I feel like we're defining ourselves more by our limitations instead of by by who we are.
I think, and this is me psychoanalyzing outside of my field again, completely. When I say field, I've got a marketing degree. I've got no field, but so I'm just trying to get across the point. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I have a theory that like when you see the reason why people get a negative reaction to seeing why a straight person might have a negative reaction to seeing two men kissing or two women kissing is because I think watching someone kiss is an inherently sexual thing. We'll see someone heavily kiss, like make out. It's like inherently like it's a sexual thing, which is subconsciously in some part of your brain arousing. But then you have that disconnect of like, oh, it's arousing, but I don't like. But it shouldn't be arousing. So you have that like it's like internal homophobia almost. It's like it's like you see it's arousing to you, but it shouldn't be in your mind, in your schema, in your brain, how you've like kind of conceptualized the world because you're like I am straight. So I agree with you. I think that what happens eventually is when we get rid of these.
I don't think that I don't think that's always the case though. Like I think that you can be a straight person. In other words, like so like going back to the example of a gay person watching a straight couple kiss, I think to them it's nothing. Like even if it's making out, it's not arousing for them. It's literally just like this is that's what they're doing. And so if anything, I think it's more like when people are mad at watching two men kiss, and it's much more often men that are that way because there are lots of women who are straight who find it hot watching men kiss and or fuck each other. Sort of in the reverse of men being attracted to lesbians, despite the fact that they are straight. It's almost like a no, the way the world is supposed to work is I'm a man and you're only going to present me making out if it's something I want to be aroused by. Otherwise, society's supposed to hide everything. So it's almost the opposite of me. It's almost like they're mad because making out is happening in a way that isn't built to arouse them. In the same way that I almost think you might have people who would be mad at watching two people they're very unattracted to making out. Like if you find overweight people like myself unattractive.
If me and Jimmy were making out, you might be like, oh, double whammy.
The way that you might be fine if it was just him and I just being gay, but the fact that we're fat and bearded or whatever.
Maybe people might like that too. Are we like people. Bears? I don't know if we would be bears or not. Like, is that a like?
I like to pretend I'm still an otter, but I at some point in the last year of stress eating, I became a bear for sure. I hope to work my way back down to twink one day, but I'm
in a group chat. I'm in a group chat called Overgrown Twinks. So that's
I'm a twink at heart. I was a twink for a long time. I'm gonna send you a photo over Twitter. You can't show it.
Okay, I won't.
Let me see if I can just show you me. The reason why you can't show it is because there's another person's photo. There's another person in the photo. Otherwise, I wouldn't care.
It's not like a nude or anything.
No, I mean, I guess I could. Let me see if I can figure out how to quick cover. I'll just crop out, and then you can do whatever you want. How do I do that on this edit photo? Anyway, yeah, it's man, this guy.
Well, let me read out the super chat from Holy Humanist Nuri Khan, one of my favorite people. Mega late here, but loving the chat. Exactly, Jimmy. Some of us sin less after leaving. We need to get the sitting up fellas to make it worth the while. Actually, that's a question I want to ask chat as Jimmy finds this amazing image. What's your favorite sin? If you've left your I'll have a look at it. If you've left your if you've left your religion, what's your faves? Is that you?
Yeah, that's me at like 22, 23, just an absolute coked out twink dancing.
I can show this, right?
Yeah, you can show it if you like. I don't care. Look at that guy. What a twink. You can't really see it because of the way the shirt is bent. I'm like 30 pounds underweight. I'm surprised there's not powder in my mustache. in that photo.
Do you know what's the best part is your goatee? I rocked a similar goatee to that, like not the mustache. I couldn't grow the mustache, so I just had the bottom bit. But
I wanted facial hair my entire life. The moment at 16, I could kind of grow my sideburns lower, so I grew them as low as they would go, and then I'd overgrow them so that I could like make them look longer. And then there was some points in college where I had like the pencil thin douchebag beard. You know what I'm talking about? The like, and even then there's like these little gaps that I still have in my beard, these little bald spots. So they weren't every time I have the maximum amount of facial hair I've ever been able to have, I've had. I wanted it my whole life, and now it's godlike, this beard. So
I need to show a little quick snippet of me, because I went on a similar journey. I was once thin. And I'll just show a quick little. I just know that there's a preaching. Yeah, here we go. So this is back when I was a youth pastor. This is one of my videos. Not there. So that's back when I was a youth pastor.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite thin, but I was still a bit overweight there. This is one of the first times I preach. Ready? Look at that boy. Look at that supple, young, hairless boy. Man. I was riding my push bike everywhere. I'd ride it to Woolworths to go shopping. I mean to work. Yeah, it's just I don't think
I'm trying to remember. Let me see if I can find the tweet to send you the because I think I used the phrase booger sugar in it. Referring to cocaine, of course.
Playboy stuff.
Man, fuck. What's the man? Twitter sucks.
Twitter, dude. Yeah, every time I'm like connecting with someone on Twitter, I'm like, can we just, and we're talking a lot, I'm like, can we connect on Facebook or something? Like I hate messaging on Twitter. Like you can't send audio messages, you can't, like it's just it's so frustrating. Oh, it's
Instagram, that's why. No, wait, but it was. Oh, I called it nose clams. That was that's a reference to Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Some delicious nose clams. All right, hang on. Now I'll send the tweet. I just got to show you this this one that shows really how much coke I was doing, because you can make out like the texture of my non-existent muscles. It's
even your like face. See how you got like these like it's sucked in, like your skin sucked right into the on your temple, right? Like yeah.
Let's see. Fucking copy link. I'm putting it in your feed too. It's like there's like you can see one of my main veins in my in the inside of my elbow.
Oh, Jimmy,
I know.
How much drugs were you doing?
Enough.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Damn. It looks like too. Like, where are you in these? Like, that looks like you're in a saloon.
Yeah, I was in so it was a bar called the Cadillac Ranch in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And you went there to swing. It was like a swing dance night or something. So I'm swing dancing with my best friend from high school. Is whose hand you can't you see and it's cut off, but yeah. That was peak twink Jimmy Snow.
That's amazing. So just to keep this at a reasonable amount of time, I want to ask the audience to throw some questions at you. So, but I've got a bit of a surprise, and so you're a fan of Elder Scrolls, right?
Oh yeah. Love
yeah. So just to, and this is what I do for D&D.
You got Todd to say go fuck yourself?
Oh man, I should have. If I had access, I would have paid to get that to happen. But just to kind of give us the ambience, so just get us into the zone. I've just got some beautiful background music that'll just play throughout the Q&A section. So let me know if you can hear it.
You're not worried about the copyright?
Nah, it's.
When you play it, it drowns you out. You can't.
Wait. Can you? It usually takes a couple of seconds to even out. Is it better now?
Yeah.
It takes.
You're not worried about copyright?
No. Because this is something that Gnostic Informant taught me is Elder Scrolls music, Witcher music, all that stuff is great for your videos because they don't do any copyright stuff to it because people play games with it, right? So all that music from all that stuff is great for background. Is that too loud for everyone, or is that okay?
Perfect for me.
Sweet. Cool.
I'm just waiting for it to abruptly go, "Hey there, stop."
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question I ask all the guests, right? And this is a question that I really want to get your answer on. I want you to really think about this inside the realm of oblivion. So let's say a genie comes out of nowhere. Just say, forget this part, but essentially, like, you know that there is a God. You've discovered that there is a God. Maybe I'm going to turn this down a little bit. It's probably a fraction loud. That's better. So you know that there is a God, and you know this genie or whatever tells you that one of the world religions, that is a theistic religion, is true.
Yeah.
What is the most plausibly true religion that you don't believe in? So you have to choose one that you think is most likely to be true out of the ones that you obviously don't believe in.
It's like asking, which one of these dog shits would you like to eat? And granted, like, there's an answer, but on the surface, it's hard to analyze. Like,
well, it's not the one you'd like to eat. It's the one that you think would have the nuts inside it. Like, it's like, which one is the poo with the nuts, inside? Or like, what's the, it's a claim about truth, not about.
Okay, so I think what I would go with is, I mean, I feel like there's the cop out of universalist Unitarians, because they don't even make that many truth claims. Like, you don't even really have to believe to be one. But it's sort of like Christian cosplay it's like a cosplay of progressive Christianity, but they really don't give a fuck if you actually believe. The direction that I've seen certain elements of the Community of Christ, which is an offshoot of Mormonism, go isn't terrible. Islam's garbage, so I mean, there's no redeeming Islam. Which I even somewhat feel that same way even about the Community of Christ thing, because it's like, at the end of the day, it still comes back to Joseph Smith. It would mean that it was correct that Joseph Smith needed to fuck that 14-year-old. And for the same premise, I'm not going to try and redeem it. I'm fucking a 9-year-old. So.
What about like East? You got Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism.
Buddhism doesn't have a theistic claim, does it?
Some do. Some sects do. I
know they have sects of reincarnation, but not theism. Or do they?
I think there's some sects that believe in that have theism. I think
like a god of a Buddhist god.
I
mean, one could claim that the reincarnation of a Buddha is somewhat theistic, but it's technically not.
Apparently, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, Buddhism's non-theistic, and I think in all of its forms.
It looks like there are gods, but none are like creator gods. Like, there's not like a ultimate god. They're just like.
That's what I'm saying. I think the concept of reincarnated Buddhas is the closest thing they have to God. It's not, even in that scenario, it's like it's not.
I'll let you cop out with the Buddha's argument, but I want a second best as well, Len, if you go with something.
What was some of the other options you gave me?
Jainism, Hinduism,
bunch of hippies.
Dude, on my other channel, I read out the name of every single god on this website, and it took 4 hours, and I sat there the whole time without moving and did it.
I probably picked some sort of consistent with but like probably just some sort of paganism, some sort of like some sort of something that's cool, and also it sort of exists in that realm of your world and life doesn't actually have to be any different.
But that seems more like you're answering it based on just like how enjoyable it is versus like whether or not you think it's true. Like, what if it was like $1 million? Like, what if it was like $1 million and you got like, and if you pick the right god, it was like that. Like,
I think I'd lose. I don't think there's a way to win. That's the thing, is it's like they're all so equally unplausible. Like Christianity, that isn't an option. If the genie shows up and says, actually, one of the religions is right, it ain't Christianity. It's no version of Christianity. Like, I'm a hard atheist when it comes to Christianity. That is
what about
untrue.
So like you go like Judaism, right? And it's like Judaism is incorrect, and then you're like, well, then Christianity just adds more stuff, so it's extra incorrect. Mormonism adds even more stuff, so it's extra more.
Definitely incorrect, because Moses definitely didn't exist, right? And that's like the most important character in theistic.
Well, I think there's like Dr. Josh Bowen says there's like a 10% chance that he existed, and Abraham's like a 1% chance, and he's an Assyriologist. So
I didn't know he thought that there was a 10%. My understanding is that it's impossible. And like even if you had a character, you could say this is who they mean, sort of like the mythicist type of Moses, like you have with Jesus, where it's like Jesus didn't actually exist, but maybe there's a person that they're mistaking him for, the sort of mythicist position of Moses. Like it's still the Exodus is for sure not true, which is that actual story.
Oh yeah. There's like was there a guy named Moses? It's like
sure.
Like just
sure.
Oh, we have a just as we continue this question, we have someone who maybe is presented a really good argument. Repent and believe the gospel.
Deal.
Come
Done.
to Jesus and be saved, and it's all in all caps. What do you think?
I don't have to come to Jesus because I've already come in Jesus. Jesus is having my butt baby. So James, I don't know what you're saying. If Jesus came to me.
Jesus has left the chat. Jesus left the chat.
Come into Jesus, he'll surely. I don't know. Anyway.
So which religion? Give us. I mean, it's a hard one. This is a hard one, and this is the beautiful thing about this question is I ask theists the same thing. So I asked Dan. I asked
I mean, the answer is deism. The answer is some sort of deistic. You want to even have a tradition, but basically, like if the genie's like somebody's got it right, I would say like, okay, pick your favorite deist who's actually a deist and doesn't think. Because every time you investigate deism with a deist, they suddenly start making claims, and you're like, so that's not deism. Like you're still like wrong.
It's like dog, like this isn't what you think it is.
Like surely that's it. And it's like not even, to me it would be like fucking okay, somebody's right. It's like, all right, so it's probably that we're in a simulation and the coders are God. Like that would be the one that I would probably go with, like some sort of simulation hypothesis thing, because that I can at least wrap my mind around of like that we one day will be that kind of God to some sort of conscious computer seems likely. So just to say like, switch it. That's what we're doing. That's the closest I can give.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Like, most people just
ask this question sometimes because they want you to say like, well, I could see why Catholicism seems reasonable, but no, it's like they're all so wrong. Catholicism is false. Like it's untrue. It's so clearly untrue that it's to say like somebody got it right means you have to go into some of the more fringe beliefs that are more hypotheses. And it's like, I don't know. So Neil deGrasse Tyson made a joke about simulation theory. That's my guess.
Okay, cool. That's good. So regarding your belief in God, this is another banger question from the brilliant mind. You see, I do the opposite with compliments. I like embrace them as like hard as I can and turn them into a joke. But this comes from the brilliant mind of myself. Actually, no, it doesn't actually. That's a lie. It came from the Ken Ham and Bill Nye debate. What, if anything, would change your mind?
To which proposition? Just that a God exists? It would depend on which God exists. So if it's a deistic God, I don't know that you could ever present me evidence. If the God of deism exists, it's actually still most reasonable to be an atheist, because there still wouldn't be evidence of that God until you like get a picture of it, because you somehow get a Big Bang camera, which is technically impossible because light doesn't escape the mass. Things don't actually start expanding out in any way that we'd be able to get to until a few 100 billion years after the Big Bang. But what was the original question again?
What, if anything, would change your mind?
Yeah, it depends on the God. Because at this point, if you try to go give me proof that looks like pretty good proof of a Catholic God or a Mormon God or any Christian God, my initial response is going to be figure out what the scam is, because there's so much evidence it's not true now, that it can't be true, that I would now need to know how I was either being fooled right now or how I was fooled with mountains of evidence before that it couldn't be true. So yeah, like a Christian.
Yeah, to believe in
tell
the
me not just that God exists, but the method by which I was deceived by DNA and anthropology and history and biology and all of these, like how did the full, it's kind of like proving flat earth. What, if anything, would prove to you that the earth is flat? Because it wouldn't just be satisfying to say someone shows me a picture of the flat earth or somebody takes me out in a rocket and shows me the flat earth, because immediately my brain would go to, okay, I'm looking down at the flat earth from this rocket. How am I being deceived? Because I know so many of the proofs of the round earth, and I've done some of the experiments myself. So my initial reaction is, how is this rocket trip scamming me? And then if you satisfy me to see the satisfaction that I wasn't being scammed would be showing me how all of those other proofs, the times that the round earth was proven, were a scam. So it's hard to
on a side note with flat earth, because I'm a flat earther, and the evidence for no, I'm not. You're like Jimmy has left the chat. No, so I work for a surveying and town planning company. I'm actually on my lunch break at the moment, and we actually have to put algorithms into our data recorders to project 2D plans onto a 3D earth. So like the whole industry that I'm a part of would have to be fake in order for, like it would have to be a big scam. I'm getting paid, and all the work that we're doing is all a big farce because this is that algorithm. And when I bring this up to flat earth,
break your mind to, like, if you found out that level of thing, it would probably drive you to a point of doubt and stuff that borderlines on crazy. Imagine if you were in a Truman Show. Do you know the Truman Show?
Yeah.
Imagine if it was then revealed to you that you were in a Truman Show. How would you ever spend the rest of your life being sure that you weren't still in a new season, right? Well, like that part of the show wasn't showing you're in a Truman Show. Because in my mind, that's like an amazing idea for season 2. Season 1 is the first 35 years of his life. And then he turns 35, we reveal he's in a Truman Show. And he thinks he's discovered it himself, but in reality, we just increased the size of the set to what he associates with the size of planet Earth. But in reality, we're over on Jupiter, which we've convinced him is a gas giant. We called it a gas giant, and he hasn't figured it out. Like it would fuck up your head so much to find out that you were deceived to that level, to the point that you would never trust any truth again, and you would assume. Or not assume, but you would be in a state of like, okay, but is this a Truman? Is this season 2? Is this? And that's like the level of to convince me of the Christian God would mean you would have to show me a level of deception that revealed the truth of the falsehood, and then show me the correction, and then I would probably, my mind would break in a similar way and go, if I was deceived that much before, how is this group deceiving me now? It would just totally fuck your.
My younger brother lived in Japan for a few years, and he was in this share house, and they had a bunch of people from all over the world kind of stay there. And one of the girls that came over was from China, and they eventually had to sit her down and be like, look, Tiananmen Square, like all this other stuff. And she had a meltdown, realizing that like all the history that she had learned in her life and everything was like just wrong. And well, not everything, but like a good majority of it was just wrong. The Western world was not falling apart like the Communist Party says it is. And, and it was just, for her, it broke her. Like she was like, how do I know what's true?
This is
and
why
it's like
with people who leave fundamentalist religion and kind of stay shitty for a while, because it's super common to like leave Mormonism and become libertarian and become like all of these things of like of going, well, now I will only believe things that have this standard of proof. And even though I don't realize it, culturally, I'm going to separate things so for example, you got a lot of Muslims do this too. Ex-Mormons and ex-Muslims are oddly similar, where being transphobic is super common. Just generally anti-queer, being libertarian, and wanting just as little other stuff in your life to influence you. I'm pretty patient with these people because I think this is what's happened. When you're disillusioned with Mormonism, you're like, I never want to be deceived again. But you overcorrect into self-deception. It's like a conspiracy theorist. I never want to believe a lie again because I found out about this one conspiracy that was a lie. So in the interest in never believing a lie again, I will now believe the biggest lies in my overcorrection. It's fucking crazy.
It's I call it conspiracy theory sickness. It's like where you see like your uncle and you're like, I don't have an uncle that does this, but I'm just using it as an example. You have an uncle who's like starts researching like 9/11 was an inside job, and then like give him like a year, and they're telling you like how that Trump is going to take back the world with what is it, QAnon and all that stuff. Like they're just off the whack. Like
that's still like conspiracy theorists have gotten way worse than that, because everything you just said could still happen in the natural world. It's not just that, it's literally fucking, and by the way, demons, you can smell the sulfur coming off of Hillary. I watched Alex Jones. I heard when you meet Obama and you meet Hillary Clinton, everyone says they smell like sulfur. You can smell the demons coming off of them. And then they're fucking sharing videos where they think you see like little corners of scales because they're actually lizard people. Like it's the level of nuts it gets is fucking crazy.
Well, that's how I actually answered the question. I was stopped by a street preacher and asked this question. I didn't have a good answer, and I went away and thought about it for a few weeks. I need time to process things, and the question he was asking was similar to one I asked you, which was, what would you need to be convinced of the truth of Christianity? And I went through a bunch of different answers and test them in my head, and then I thought, the actual answer is I would need to believe whatever it would take me to believe in a married bachelor or a squared circle. I would need that amount of evidence. Yeah. Like it's contradictory. It doesn't work. Like it contradicts itself. Now you could say the Christian God exists and that the Bible is just wrong. Okay, I can get on board with that. But to say that the Bible is inerrant and the Christian God exists, and then try to like tap dance around. Like, well, Noah's flood did happen. That's how we get fossils on top of mountains and just like science denial, or maybe it was allegory and do what Jordan
really
Peterson
funny
does.
Happening in your chat right now, and it's totally distracting me. There's a person in the chat telling people that Dunning-Kruger isn't real, and I know why they make this claim because there was one popular article that called it into question, and then other people have sort of repeated it. And so now people, on the basis of very little information, arguments that sound good but aren't necessarily sound, and no peer review, will now say on that basis, Dunning-Kruger isn't real. Which, if that's not the most ironic, hilarious fucking thing in the world, you're literally Dunning-Krugering the Dunning-Kruger effect. You double Dunninged. Well done, Tim. You got a double dunner there.
Double dunner. I love that.
Double dunner. Double dunner. Oh, Tim looks like he might have been joking around because he says I'm no fun for him. But I don't know. It's just, I've seen people unironically say that when you bring it up. And I'm just like, it's like that and the fallacy that people like to go like, there's
that's a fallacy and it's like not a fallacy at all.
No, it exists. The fallacy exists, but it's not the way people use it. So there was a YouTuber who used to be quite popular on a specific show. I'm not going to say who it was, but he was doing a show and he was arguing with somebody, and the person was literally like, you just said this and this, and that's a fallacy. And he goes, well, did you know that calling things a fallacy is a fallacy? That's the fallacy to defend from the fact he wanted you to not pay attention to the fact that he had just committed a fallacy. The guy was dog shit at debate, basically. It's an atheist. The reason why I'm not saying who it was is because I don't like the person, and I'm glad they don't really make content anymore. But anyway, they were like, well, calling something a fallacy is a fallacy. It's called the fallacy. And no, the fallacy is the fallacy in which if somebody makes a fallacy, you say they are wrong because they made a fallacy. In other words, like if I say the earth is round and then I make let's say a red herring fallacy, to go, nope, you just made a red herring fallacy, therefore you're wrong and the earth is flat. That's the fallacy. It includes the conclusion you are wrong on the basis that you made a fallacy.
That it's I think you said the word fallacy about 30 times there, and my brain is like ringing. That's but yeah, the fallacy. So it's a fallacy. It's the fallacy, and it's the fallacy of saying fallacy, right?
No. It's the fallacy of saying something is wrong because that a position is wrong because a person used a fallacy. So it's not the fallacy of saying a fallacy that something is a fallacy, or being wrong. So it's not even a fallacy to say, hey, that's a red herring fallacy, and then it isn't. That's not even the fallacy. The fallacy is you said a fallacy, therefore your position is wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share a moment from
I think I could be wrong. I don't know. You can, if I'm wrong, somebody tell me.
Do you have a moment from, and thank you guys, slap that like button and subscribe. Got more amazing content coming up. We got 91 viewers, which is incredible. Jimmy, people love you. They just love you so much.
Tight.
But so, Jimmy, everyone give Jimmy a compliment in the chat. Thank you. Everyone give Jimmy a compliment. Tweet him a compliment.
Bye.
So, can you share a moment from the line that has significantly made it so has significantly grounded what you do and why? Obviously humanism, secular humanism, and making the world, I guess, a better place, to sound like every tech in the world, bloggers in the world, but you is part of the drive of what you do. But have you got a moment where someone's told you something or said something, or a conversation that is just totally this is why I do what I do?
There's something funny about whenever somebody's excited to have me on for an interview, I want to always set their expectation that it's not going to go the way they expect, so that I don't disappoint, because I definitely am no good at answering the questions that people actually ask me the way that I think a lot of people are hoping, because I don't really have an answer to that. It's so important, if you're doing the amount of work that I'm doing and you're working as often as I'm working, to basically not remember all the shows you do. It's actually a part of mental health, I think, if I just dwelled on every show. So I can probably remember some recent calls, but there's probably way better examples from before. So a pivotal, a moment that's honestly, it's not even that. It's not, the moments on the show aren't the reason why I feel like doing the show. It's usually people telling me how the shows have helped them outside of the context of the show, or that it was a major part of their deconstruction, or even little things like, hey, I didn't realize I was a non-believer, or you helped me. There was this specific thing. I knew what I believed. I just wasn't good at articulating it to other people. But a specific example of something, I mean, there are fun things. I like every time I get to do experiments live on air. One time a person called, and this was a pretty old one, because I was still in that Denver set where you could see the highway behind me. There was a guy who called who said that he believes in God because if he asks God a question, God always answers. And I was like, what do you mean always? He's like, always. He's like, so if I ask a yes or no question, God will tell you yes or no. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, if I flip a coin, will God tell you what it is before it lands? He goes, yes. And I said, all right, let's test it. Let's see. Let's do a few. And I literally was like, okay, ask God what this coin outcome is going to be. And he said heads, and I flipped it, and the first one was tails. And he was like, I'm really glad I talked to you, because until now I really believed this was true. And now I got what's going on. And yeah, he was like, he basically went from believing that to not believing it, and all I had to do was one coin flip. It was fucking awesome.
Imagine how dangerous that could be if he went through a mental episode or whatever. I know people who have done too much acid and started thinking they could talk to animals, and they believe in telepathy and all this stuff, right? Like they start believing in some stuff. But imagine like if that person was left unchecked like that and then continued to believe that for years and then had some sort of a episode where those beliefs were created. That could be dangerous. Like you've done some good for the world there. That's crazy.
So there's an experiment. Oh man, I hope that I'm trying to remember where this came from. I feel like it was a conversation with Matt and I hope I'm not ruining a part of his show by saying this, but there's an experiment you can do where you could have a crowd of people and you basically, like, let's say you have a crowd of 500 people in front of you. You have everybody stand up and you say, raise your hand if you think the next, I'm going to flip a coin. Raise your hand if you think the next flip is going to be heads. And everybody raise your hand and you flip it, and then it's either heads or tails. And if it's heads, you say, everybody with your hand up, stay standing. Everyone with your hand down, sit down. And then you have everybody, and then you reset and you do it again. And the first time it's not at all interesting, but by the time you get to the 10th coin flip, there's still some people stood up. And eventually you get to the point where like 10 or 15 coin flips in a row, somebody technically guessed right that many times in a row because you have 500 people in front of you and somebody's going to guess to some number. So we'll call it 12. Imagine that has happened in your life in a way that you can't see the mechanism going on. You're not talking to a magician, but you have 12 exact coincidences like that in a row where everybody here is seeing it with 500, but that one person out on the street is still one of many billions of people. Somebody out there is having things happen in a row to them that seems so impossible. I mean, I can even imagine being that person in that audience and going, I just got my 12th in a row. Am I sure that this is not magic? I could see a person questioning whether or not they, during the experiment, might be able to predict the future suddenly. And so it's that sort of shit that, like, that's what something like that happens to all of us. These very unlikely things, these incredible coincidences, things that we would think would be impossible, like guessing 12 coin flips in a row. And yet if you have 500 people and you have them sit down every time they get it wrong, somebody's going to make it to 12. I think 500 is right, but maybe it takes 1,000.
Well, think. Okay, so you got 500 there, right? And you got 12 coin flips in a row. I think Richard Dawkins did something similar to this back in the day. But imagine that now extrapolate that number out to 8 billion. Like, how many people in the world now? 8 billion?
Yeah.
Like, and then think about like the person who has 500 coincidences in one day and they go, this can't be chance.
It's not just a matter of out of 8 billion people, you'd be able to go way past 12 coincidences. 12 coincidences seems very unlikely to an individual. And yet that level, 8 billion is so many that some sort of 12 coincidences in a row is going to happen to every single one of these 8 billion people. It's just going to be a different one. The number of things which can happen different in life. And so it's your mind frame and your understanding that even the most unlikely thing, as for example, being told to guess 12 in a row, will happen to someone. And something like that will happen to you. And having the mindset and the skepticism to go, just because it seems super unlikely doesn't mean I should eliminate the fact that the likelihood of it being a coincidence, because super unlikely things are bound to happen to everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely. Guys, I think we might do a quick giveaway. Okay, because you guys, there's so many people here, and I want to, say thank you. So what we're going to do, I'm going to ask Jimmy a last important question. And what's the hashtag you use, Jimmy? Is it go fuck yourself, Jimmy? So GFY.
I don't use a particular hashtag. That's more for the Transatlantic Console. But people will just write GFYJ or JGFY. Is the acronym.
Okay, so if you post this in chat, I'll send at the end of this, I'll send you a gift certificate for Amazon. Reach out, post that in the chat exactly like that, and we'll do a giveaway as we answer this last question. And I'll give you an Amazon gift card so you can buy a book or something, or we'll work something out. But it'll be a giveaway for, I don't know, $25 Amazon. Buy a book with that, right? So let's do that.
Doing a giveaway amongst somebody will win who writes hashtag GFY.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
So write it in. We've got 5 entries so far. So just keep getting them in. And as I asked Jimmy this last question, and then we'll draw it at the end of this episode. This is my thanks back to you for making sure you like and subscribe as well. If you're not subscribed, you're not getting the damn gift card.
Now, is it 25 Australian dollars or will it be real money?
You know what? Let's do fucking US.
I wasn't trying to put you. Just as a joke on the channel, we call Canadian dollars alleged dollars, and we call Australian dollars just fake money.
Didgeridoos. $5 dues. That's what they're called.
It's a $25
dues. So Jimmy, okay, so this is a conversation we've been having a lot on Deep Drinks at the moment. So I consider myself an ally for the trans community, for the LGBT community, I try and stand up against bigotry and things like that, but I also try to have conversations with people that I don't agree with. I recently had Chrissy Hansen on, and we talked about, should we platform bad faith actors? I've been talking to Arden actually about this in DMs. Arden Hart, and the question is, initially, I had a stance that I would talk to almost anyone. I would talk to, there's probably not a situation where I'd want to talk to them, but I wouldn't be morally opposed to having, say, like a Nazi or a very horrible person on to discuss their beliefs, as long as I could do that responsibly, as long as I could do that in a way that was like challenging and making them like giving some critiques of their ideas. Now that sounds quite harsh. I probably would never actually have done anything like that. But the point was, like, I think that you can responsibly have conversations about really hard topics. I recently was called out on this because it's very easy for me to be in that position because I'm in a place of privilege. I'm not affected by it. For me, it's a fun chess game, right? But at the end of the day, trans folks are having like actual rights being stripped from them, and women are having actual rights stripped from them in the US at the moment. So to have a fun conversation with, or a deep conversation with someone about this it goes against the other part of the podcast, which is I try to be an advocate for people who are in marginalized groups. Mm-hmm. So we had this conversation about the pros and cons of deplatforming bad faith actors. And one of the pros was, if you do deplatform not bad faith actor, sorry, just a bad person, then then it creates an environment for social ostracization, in which case they're more likely to change their belief system because they're socially pushed out of the circles. And it can also kind of force them to change, like get them to reconsider. I had an argument with this, not an argument, but my argument against this, like I was playing devil's advocate, was I don't know if that's actually a good thing. I don't know if we should want people to change their attitudes on things like homophobia, transphobia, racism, bigotry, because of social ostracization. I think they should change for rationale and logic. I think we should be able to we should force them to be able to consider their worldviews, but I think they should arrive at the conclusion for what I call good reasons.
Yeah.
Chrissy said, I don't care. I would rather someone just change their views. And I was like, damn, that's actually interesting. I messaged Arden about this, and Arden said, oh, I'm totally down for Arden Hart. She's trans as well. And she's like, I'm totally down.
Who?
Arden Hart. Oh, yeah.
The joke is, Arden is, not only is she a host on Transatlantic, but she's the only other producer on the channel as well. She's like my second in charge, if you will.
Oh, awesome. So I've seen her post behind the scenes stuff, and I'm like, it looks cool. But and she said, I'm totally down for like shaming people out of their positions. Like people, so in other words, people changing their mind about things for what I would consider bad reasons, for shame and stuff. And I was like, damn, I'm actually think I've been a little swayed on this opinion, and it made me realize that the goals of philosophy, so this podcast, Deep Drinks, religion, philosophy, human rights, the goals of philosophy, that is epistemology, what is a rationally true worldview, blah, 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 is actually has different goals to the human rights parts of this podcast. That is, human rights is like, I've already determined what is a human right and what needs protecting, etc. But so therefore I'm advocating on behalf of those the morality that I have. The philosophy part is actually a priori in its execution, but it's like you need to. It's like that's a different conversation. Does that make sense? So, in other words, and this is I'm getting to a question. I promise.
Sure.
In other words, it would be against the grain for me to have someone on who's maybe, like, if I was to interview J.K. Rowling, for example, who's said a bunch of transphobic shit, I would never get a chance to interview her anyway. But let's say I would have her on. That would actually be counter to my advocacy as a human rights advocate, right? Because then I'm engaging with her with philosophy about these ideas, but she's causing so much harm to the transgender community that I'm there platforming someone who's creating these toxic environments. What do you think about that?
There are elements I agree with and elements I disagree with. Shame is a fine enough reason to get a person to reassess. To say a person should hold the belief, I believe, gay people should have human rights because I'm too afraid to not believe that, is a terrible idea. That's just religion. That's literally a fucking religious deal. But to have a person go, I was shamed for being a bigot, and this is a social consequence of my bigotry, therefore I need to reassess and figure out what the facts are by some means by which, if I'm correct, it's easy for me to share that. That's the way to debigitize somebody anyway. I would 100% have Ben Shapiro or J.K. Rowling or, I'm trying to think of other detestable people.
Jordan Peterson.
Peterson for sure.
Steven Crowder. Matt Walsh.
Maybe. Matt Walsh is a harder one because Matt Walsh is sort of Matt Walsh is closer to the line of just straight up calling for genocide.
I would have him on in person if I could spit on him.
Yeah, so this is the thing. The reason why I think we have this conversation is because we now live in an environment of everybody, no matter how good they have actually demonstrated they are able to think, is platformable. And that's a problem with our side also. It's not a problem with their side too. I think if you have adequate representatives and people that you can trust to do a good job, who, if they fuck it up and do a bad job, will also take responsibility for that and say like, yo, my bad. I really fucked up that debate or whatever. That would be great. But this is why I don't like debate much, and why our debate shows that we're going to be launching are going to follow a different formula that I think are more important than the current like debate bro formula. You have people who are very impressive debaters, and then you have everybody else, and yet we're doing all of them. It's like some fucking ridiculous person. And then there's also, as far as fringe things and things that aren't a real threat, I'm not going to debate David Duke. This was Matt's example, I think, recently, because the KKK is dying. Like, exposure is what they want more than anything. And to treat them like an actual threat to society that we need to be debating because they may be successfully radicalizing people. It's not about the KKK. QAnon's who you should be doing that with at the moment, if anybody. So shame is an adequate reason if you want to try and inspire somebody to change their beliefs because they feel so embarrassed at the reception of their broadcast that that's fine. But the thing is I don't believe people are correct when anybody who thinks that the reaction to being shamed shamed for a belief is to then change the belief without good incentive is delusional. It is, these counter communities are growing. They're not getting smaller. The anti-trans movement right now is louder than it's ever been. It's larger than it's ever been, even though there are more accepting people, because in the past it was more neutral people, or people who just didn't know or didn't care or whatever. You can definitely argue that the past was worse for trans people because trans people felt more like they had to be in the closet in the past. Whereas now the opposition is worse than ever, even as the acceptance is louder than ever too. Especially in a world where if you get embarrassed somewhere, you can instantly with your phone travel to a community to where people are going to affirm you, tell you why the other people were wrong and you were right. I just don't understand why a bunch of people who don't, I think, feel like they hold any beliefs for bad reasons like shame, think that would be good enough for other people. But as far as like a quick remedy to try and get to silence bigotry, sure, like it's going to make a person be quiet. And if there's an immediate danger, I could see using that tool. And to obviously, I shame people when they call my show, and I will tell them, like, this is the stupidest argument I have heard in a long time. You are failing to think. That shame is meant to make them go back and reassess. But the idea of, like, I don't know, the platforming stuff is very murky. And I think that you have to have people who are adequate representative, not just any fucker go do it. Dillahunty fighting Jordan Peterson was one of the most significant disillusionment moments of Jordan Peterson's career, where people went, oh shit, this guy who I was listening to and going like, he's got good points. I just watched him use the same reasoning on atheism, which I know why it was stupid. And I'm starting to apply that to some of the other shit he says. Fuck, I was wrong about this guy. That was a huge moment for taking him down.
What is it? What was the? Oh, you can't quit smoking without a mystical experience. Like, what? What, dog? Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, I know. It's wild.
Clean your room.
Clean your room. Lobsters.
The lobsters. Hang on, I can get there. The lobster, with the hierarchy of lobster sublation into the consciousness of
bullshit.
Yeah, it's what's he always say? It's you don't. It's not a good thing. You don't want to do that.
Up yours, your moralist thumb. We'll see who cancels who.
Can you invite me onto the line one time to do the whole episode in Jordan Peterson voices? The whole time. We don't break character.
David, I will do it if your impression becomes good.
Hang on. Let me. It's like
no, actually,
it's like you got to get into the spirit.
Suggested something. I think it was earlier today, and I had to say, like, we don't do bits. Like, it's not super chat, sure, but like the line isn't a place for characters and bits. Reading super chats and voices is fun, but the show itself is not.
We should. So maybe you should do an 18th show where it's just bits.
All bits. I mean, the Sometime show, the Return of the Sometime show will have lots of bits, but.
Well, just because I don't want to paint Arden in a bad light, she gave a lot of context. I gave a really bad. Short.
I know Arden's position. I wasn't bothered with it.
Yeah. I just didn't want her to.
And I think if you're in a community of people that are literally being attacked, you're literally like, I don't care why a person suddenly stops. I just don't actually believe it where it happens.
Well,
I don't think a person's mind changes because of shame. I think the shame can incentivize a person to now explore that belief, but I don't think anybody actually goes, I'm so ashamed, my view just changed, my belief just changed.
I think that it gets, there's like different scales, right? Maybe 5 years ago, having a conversation about the validity of trans identity or something would have been better, but now when they're getting their rights taken away, imagine going to Nazi Germany and then like interviewing a bunch of Nazis and being like, so what do you think about the Jews? Like that would be irresponsible. Like at some point the Nazis needed one thing, which was a bullet. They needed their to be taken down. They needed the Nazi Party to be disbanded. They needed to be destroyed. You couldn't just have a conversation with them, and that's essentially what's happening with a lot of
the value of a conversation on a network between Goebbels and somebody who actually could knock Goebbels down. Do you know what I mean? Like, even Hitler. Like, imagine the value of that back then of emasculating Hitler. And so again, I'm not saying the best thing that ever happened was Hitler killed Hitler. It's the best thing he ever did, was kill himself. Like that's obviously. I'm sorry for your monetization aspirations, but I think it was really, an amazing thing and everything. But as far as like the value of, and I'm not a debate bro. Again, I shit on the concept that so many people are debating. I'm not even sure I belong in that space, and I'm definitely better at it than most people. But it's like, I don't know. when you say like, imagine going back to Nazi Germany. If I imagine going back to Nazi Germany and I can't do anything except I can publicly debate and emasculate these men from their positions, as far as what that does to their supporters' views and everything else, and I don't say that. I think that is without value.
Here's my biggest objection to the idea that Chrissy was putting forth, which is essentially hardline deplatforming position. But it's a good conversation. Go watch it. Some people found it very frustrating, but there's some points in there to listen on both sides. But I have a friend. Have you seen that meme of "Why are you gay?" It's like an African bloke. I interviewed him for Deep Drinks. We had to do it in secret and it's recorded. It's on the Patreon, or if you're a channel member, you can watch it. But essentially, there was a new bill that was put into Uganda that made it so if you're a serial offender of homosexuality, it was a death sentence. And it was 10 years in prison if you're caught identifying as trans. Now, that is you can draw a direct line it's like one clear line between the Christian evangelicals going over there and promoting this stuff to the laws. Uganda used to have a bi king. They used to have tribes of people with third genders. Christianity comes along with colonialism, and you can draw a direct line from that to the human rights. Same with women in Islam. The Quran has some explicit instructions that break the ribs of women in China and give them black eyes in the Middle East. Quran 434. I have Muslims on the show. I have Christians on the show. If I'm not to platform a Nazi, like Nazis they've got no power in the real world. Christians and the ideology behind Christianity and the ideology behind Islam are causing just incredible harm to like a vast majority of people, all of Uganda, all women. So it's like, at what stage it's like, is it just because they're so popular? If Christianity was like a fringe group, would it now no longer be appropriate to platform them, or is it because it's so popular that it's okay?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of my question of where clearly the line is somewhere. I'm not going to, I've talked about a certain debate channel. Every time it comes up, I talk about what dog shit I think it is, because they just chase dumpster fires. That's their philosophy. Get the dumpster fire, get the views, and never get a better camera for the moderator. I don't know what the fuck's going on over there, but the place is a garbage pail. And I can actually see.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And if somebody said it out loud, I would say yes, that one. But unprovoked, I'm not going to shit talk them. But I think I could take 95% of their shows that I think fall under that category and change the shows to at least be fruitful and not just a dumpster fire chase. But then there are those people like Richard Spencer's not anybody who's literally a Nazi. I'm definitely not going to platform. The line is somewhere. I think as a person who is now going to have to engage with that line more, I'm going to make mistakes. Yeah, of course. The line on the line. I'm probably going to make mistakes, and every now and then it's going to be like, ooh, that person I didn't. Yeah, that was. But we're going to engage the line, and hopefully we're never that close to the line that we have to worry about it. But at times when we get close to the line, we're going to, mistakes get made, and people are imperfect, and that's the fucking expectation of nonstop perfection. And then if you ever vary from it, your expectation to totally prostrate yourself and apologize for the mercy of a bunch of fucking internet sociopaths. I also am not a fan of, but it's just like, I don't know. The line's somewhere, but it isn't. It's definitely not everywhere. Your hard. I don't know who Chrissy is, but so when you said they are a hardline deplatformer, I take it that they're saying you wouldn't even debate a Christian or a Mormon.
No. They didn't take that stance with Christianity. They're a pagan themselves. So they're
line then, if they don't have a hardline deplatform everything in opposition and just don't have debates, why is their line more valid than anybody else's line?
So their when I say hard line, we did a scale from 0 to 10. They were an 8, with some leeway. The 8 is what they mean is the deplatforming. If someone's a Nazi, they should be deplatformed of everything. No Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, no YouTube, nowhere online they should be accepted, and you should continually harass and deplatform the websites and communities that have them online.
Extend that also into no job, no like.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Like, so they can't.
Would they send a person like that to jail? Would they?
maybe you could ask them.
I definitely believe in people's right to believe in racist ideology. I just don't like or to believe, like, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of identity is something I do believe in. And that person, I would happily, in a one-on-one, try to disillusion them of such misgivings. And I definitely wouldn't be, as far as a job goes, if somebody is publicly a Nazi and they're doing something public facing, yeah, that makes sense to me. But as far as if somebody is publicly a Nazi and they have a job as a janitor for a park, I'm not going out of my way to make sure he stops cleaning up trash. If anything, I like him.
Yeah, if anything, he should be picking up trash. So this is why I love you. First of all, thank you, 10 jobs, for becoming a member. That's the first time I've seen it happen. Well, we're live, so thank you. Hey, that's like super appreciate members and people who want to support on Patreon. What I love about you, Jimmy, which is what I was saying, is that you love to discuss where the line is, and you do so on the line. Shout out to your channel once again. For those who missed the start, you have some amazing content. And what's your next episode? Like, what's the next show that's coming out?
If I don't do a Cause I Wanna tomorrow, which is unlikely or this weekend, there's probably no Cause I Wannas because I'm so right now working on pre-production of new shows that are launching that I don't have time. I'm also building a set for the Sometime show at the moment, even though it's till September, but it's the thing I love doing. So if there's not, on Sunday, we'll have the Sunday show with myself and Matt. On Monday, Oren Ra will be back for Skep Talk, and I think I've got to still figure out his guest. Usually we have all this stuff way scheduled out, but there's been some shifting around. Tuesday is I guess if there's one I want to plug the most, would be the premiere of Dying Out Loud with Dave Warnock next Tuesday.
Okay, awesome. So next Tuesday, go to the line, Dave Warnock, Dying Out Loud. It's going to be I didn't actually know that he had a terminal illness. That sounds horrific. But
it's ALS.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, it kind of reminds me of it's so honorable that he would do that, because it reminds me a little bit of that book Mortality by Christopher Hitchens, where he kind of like cataloged his. Yeah, I'll be there for that. So and also, guys, we do have Aaron Ra coming on tomorrow, which will be a really fun episode. We're drinking some.
Someone says I'm a janitor and that thing. Well, Dan, just if you also ever become a Nazi, I won't try to get rid of your janitor.
Sorry, I didn't mean to crap on journalists. I just said
no.
It was
a
joke about picking.
Somebody's got to do it. I'm just saying, I'm not bothered by Nazis as janitors.
Yeah. Okay. So Aaron Ra is.
Oh man, imagine knowing that there was a Nazi janitor somewhere and just being like, all right, here's what we're gonna do.
Just drop your rubbish.
I'm scheduling a bar mitzvah. And I'm telling everybody, miss the trash cans. Miss them on the floor, on the ground.
Yeah.
We're making this Nazi cleanup after these Jews. It's going to be amazing.
Don't use the toilet in a traditional manner. Do a reverse kangaroo every time. So just and that episode, that if anyone wants to go watch it, it's called with Dan McClellan, What Are the Roots of Monotheism, was a really good episode. And we also have a couple of awesome episodes coming up, including Warzone journalism in Ukraine. Dylan is actually over there demining at the moment, which is pretty cool. And then we also
the one who was about to do a show with John DeLynn, and then he let a bunch of Mormons bully him out of doing it. That is
Dan McClellan.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't actually know that.
But Dan's still a Mormon, correct?
I think so. Yeah. Well, yeah. He's part of the LDS Church. He won't talk. He won't talk specifically about his beliefs because he doesn't want it to affect his scholarship. For people to view him differently, he just talks about consensus scholarship.
I think we almost had him on the line once because of all of his other work, and then I was like, nope. If you will not declare whether or not you are if you're an active member of the church, that means you're giving 10% of your income to the church. And if you're broadcasting in any way that it's okay to be a member of that church, fuck no, because tithing goes directly to harm queer people especially, and it pushes their political stuff. So I think Dan was one of those ones that I was disappointed wouldn't take a stand because I like other work.
Yeah, Dan Dan is actually, we talked about his, because he considers himself an LGBT ally, and you could confront him about that and everything.
What
But
about lots of Mormons that pay tithing and therefore they lose that badge if he is a current member and is in good standing with the church, it means he pays his 10%, which to me means doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you love gay people, you give money to hurt them. Period.
Well, I'll let you two settle that beef on Twitter. Yeah. Oh, and also, I did want to mention we're having a new friend of mine. She has a podcast called Growing Up Fundy. And she was in the start video, Sydney Davis Jr. She apparently has been like in your DMs, like trying to get your attention for a long time to have you on the podcast. But I just wanted to mention that one. She's super cool. She's a comedian. She's a special.
She looks very much
Amazon
like
Prime.
an old friend of mine. So I on that basis, I like her.
She's so funny. She's got a special on Amazon Prime. She's a comedian. She's actually like hilarious. Despite what Christopher Hitchens says about women comedians. Anyway, let's do this giveaway, guys. So hit the I'll give it another 10 seconds. Type in that into the chat, and then we will do a giveaway. We got 23 people. You got a 23 chance to get a $25 Amazon gift card.
Will you send me a link on Twitter to? Oh wait, maybe I found her.
Okay. Sydney Davis Jr.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have
Instagram.
a single DM from her.
Maybe it's Instagram. Maybe it's Instagram DMs. But she's super cool. The small amount that I know about her, but I'll make sure she DMs you.
By the way, the other person who said I didn't know them, I swear I just did a show with them. The like after show at Neil's party. I think they were at that.
What, the Sydney? Or
no,
Derek?
Beside Sydney in the intro that said I didn't know who they were. And I was like, no, I do. We met. I think we met at Neil's.
I think that's Sydney. She was just recently on Neil's.
Second person, a man who said it. Just pull it up. I'll show you which one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll have a good time watching it again too.
It's going. Yeah, let's watch the intro again. The only problem is it's going to cut us.
This was supposed to be saved for when I met you in person, but Jimmy, go fuck yourself.
With all the love in the world from Venus, go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy. Yeah, you. Go fuck yourself, eh?
Hey, Jimmy. I know we don't know each other yet, but here's my introduction. Go fuck yourself. I'm Derek.
Go fuck yourself.
Derek from Myth Vision. I swear I met Derek at Neil's thing.
Oh, maybe.
People talking while that was going. I was like,
no, I couldn't. That's why I said like it's gonna be all right. Hey, Jimmy's been on this thing for longer than I am. I'm gonna listen to what he says. So
yeah. No, it's all good. I'll tell you a little secret, but this is not. If you like it, it's fine. I can't stand StreamYard. It's
dude, you seem to have the wrong opinion about everything.
What's that?
You seem to have the wrong opinion about everything. You tell me to switch cameras, tell me to switch
features that are missing that I couldn't adjust myself to, but more than that, they are getting them to work with anyone who's using a black magic capture card is terrible.
Oh, right. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I'm going to need to talk to you. Show up 10 minutes early. I actually showed up like 30 minutes early because I knew it would take me 20 minutes to fix the camera issues.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to need to talk to you about all this tech stuff after the stream, but let's do the giveaway. Thanks everyone for coming out. This is my thanks to you. $25 Amazon gift card. You can buy a book. Let's draw this out.
This is a cool feature that I didn't know about. That's dope.
Funny if it was me. Hey, Jesse B. Congratulations.
Hey!
Shoot me a message on Twitter, and I'll organize getting you a $25 gift card with real money, US money. Thanks, Jimmy. So congratulations. Thank you so much for subscribing, liking, and being a part of this community. I really appreciate it. Winner could buy Dave's book. Is it Dave Warner? Unless they think I have a book. But either way, you can buy whatever book you want or anything you want, I guess. Thank you so much. You're here. I'm glad you're here. Awesome. Message me on Twitter or email. The email's in the thing. Jimmy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you come on. And I just wanted to say thank you again. Let's see if I got one last question. One last quick question for you. Yes, hey. I got one last quick question for you. This is
I don't know where to be. Down. We can do whatever. Let's have another party at Neil's.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Neil on, by the way. I don't know why Neil hasn't been on this channel yet. I've been on his channel, but he's been on mine.
Actually.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's true. If money was no object, what would you do all day?
If money was no object, nothing different. I love this. But it would unlock a lot more, and a lot more would happen a lot faster. Like we'd open instead of trying to find a place to lease later this year, we'd buy land and build our own community center production thing. It'd be if money was literally no object, I would probably utilize like a $50 million a year production budget, and things would just take the fuck off. Like money is because we live in a capitalist hellscape, very empowering. And so, if there was literally money, no object, the line would just become fucking incredible. It'd be crazy. It'd be very similar, but I would buy back some of my time, and I would hire people who and pay them a very good wage, who I think are capable at matching at least like 15% of my neurosis, and several of them, to make sure that there's overlap and cover. And I'd probably try and reduce it to the point where, because I really do mean it when I say I work 70 to 90 hours a week. Most of my day is wake up, start working on something. Today was mostly the website. And then I had the podcast appearance, and then I have your appearance here. And then after we're done here, I've got the website and some scripting to do for these promotional things that we've got to do. And then more stuff on the set. I'd buy back some of that time so I could woodwork more. And I'd build a fucking amazing wood shop that would be not in my house, which currently my wood shop is in my house. And I'd probably end up having sex again. It's been a while. It'd be incredible.
Oh, you get to use and we didn't even get to talk about your wooden butt plugs, which let's save it for another time, because I don't know if you're selling them or what's going on, but I obviously need to get one, maybe for the Christmas tree. Instead of the star at the top, maybe it's just a giant wooden butt plug.
Yeah. But if anybody's watching who's like, I could give Jimmy like $2 million a year I accept.
Yeah. And I think you could super chat $2 million. I don't know if you could super chat $2 million. What's the biggest super chat you've ever received on the line?
I think there's a cap, and the cap might be $500, but I know we've had a couple $500 ones over the years.
Whoa, that's crazy.
We had a $500 one because somebody said something really shitty in their phone call, and they felt terrible that Arden was mad at him, and so he sent a $500 one as an apology.
Oh wow, well that's kind of sweet.
Yeah, I know. I was like, literally after, I was like, could you start mommy shaming more callers? Like fucking do it. Forgive me, mommy. It's amazing.
Oh, guys, sorry. We were just going to end there. I just there's so many more members. There's someone just gifted. I didn't even know you could do that. What? Someone gifted?
Gifting memberships.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome to all the new members. Pragmatic Crystal, Ember, Calacia, I Killed Earl. Thank you. 10 jobs. You're the one who gifted. Thank you so much. Hey, it's a party. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to start creating some more. But you know what? Jimmy's gonna send some private messages to every one of them. He actually said he'll spend hours on the phone with anyone who's a member. So
I don't even do stuff for our channel members. Channel membership on my channel just gets you past slow mode. So
okay.
You want personal time? At least you got to be on Patreon, and then you can come to a group Zoom.
Or if there's anyone who wants to have sex with Jimmy, please reach out to him on Twitter. So
that's a difficult area to navigate because people are parasocial fucking weirdos.
Actually, there's another conversation to have there as well.
Don't start.
Anyway,
don't introduce yourself with your genitals. Let me begin there. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Vaginas and dicks aren't all that good looking, and nowhere. That's not a way to say hello.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy, for coming on. Let's wrap up the episode. I'm going to stop that beautiful music. I want to go play Oblivion now. And see you everyone tomorrow for Aaron's episode, and Tuesday over on the line for Dave Warnock's show. See everyone there. Love you all. Peace.